get one thing straight before I even begin. Musa Khawula didn't murder anyone. He didn't rob a bank. He didn't scam the elderly out of their pension money. He didn't kidnap any little kids or sell some overpriced build your own business webinar on Facebook like your favorite fake billionaire. The guy said something. Words. And suddenly everyone is clutching their pearls like we live in a society that values truth over gossip. Please, this is South Africa. Our national sport isn't rugby, it's hypocrisy. Today we're diving into the curious case of Musa Khawula, a man whose tongue is sharper than a vuvuzela at full blast. This 33-year-old blogger has managed to land himself behind bars, not for grand larceny or high treason, but for the audacious act of, wait for it, sharing his opinions online. I know, right? How could he? How could he say something online about someone? Gosh damn it, what a menace to society he is. I'm actually surprised he didn't get life in prison already. Hoo-wee! Talk about serious crime. He has become man, the myth, and the agent of chaos in South African pop culture. Now, whether you love him or hate him, or don't even know him, one thing is clear. He's been stirring up that pot like a chef at a drummer buffet. And now, the guy is facing legal trouble, and I gotta say, this whole situation is like watching a soap opera written by someone who forgot how to make sense halfway through. Now, before you judge me for defending Musa, let's dissect this ridiculous situation. Because the funny thing is, nobody's even confirmed whether what Musa said is true or not. That's right, no one actually sat down, looked into the claims, and said, hey, here's the evidence. No, they just went straight to, he offended me, arrest him. My question is, if your first instinct is to cry foul without addressing the actual issue, then doesn't that make you the problem and not the guy who actually said the thing? Because let's start with the charges. Musa is facing crimen injuria, which for those unacquainted with legal Latin translates to you said something mean about me, basically. That's what it means. In a country grappling with issues like load shedding that makes candlelit dinners a nightly routine, it's very comforting to know that our justice system actually has time to address such playground insults. But wait, there's more. Musa also stands accused of violating Section 19 of the Cyber Crimes Act. The section is designed to prevent the spread of harmful data messages, but in this context, it seems to be the digital equivalent of stop gossiping on WhatsApp. One has to wonder, with all the phishing scams, cyber threats, and CP out there, is this really the best use of our cybercrime resources? Because we cannot forget about the cherry on top here, the hate speech charges laid on him. In a nation that seems to pride itself on diversity and freedom of expression, labeling someone's opinion as hate speech sets a very precarious precedent. Are we to censor every voice that doesn't align with your mainstream narrative? If that's the case, we might as well replace our national anthem with a disclaimer, sing at your own risk. So here's the gist. Musa said some things. Wild things, spicy finger-pointing accusation kind of things. Things that got people riled up. Now, I'm not here to defend or condemn what he said because, frankly, I don't have the receipts. And as far as I can tell, neither does anyone else. That is the hilarious part. No one's really out here saying, hey Musa, you're wrong because here's the actual evidence. Nope, it's just a bunch of people clutching their pearls, yelling, how dare you? You said something mean about him. I want you to think about it like this for a second because this is important. Isn't that what everyone else does on social media now? Say wild things about people without any proof. We've got conspiracy theorists with YouTube channels bigger than the GDP of small countries. We've got YouTubers with bigger conspiracy theories than Ace Magashule's stomach. Politicians lying through their teeth daily. Influencers selling you detox teas that do nothing but ruin your toilet. But Musa Khawula says something and suddenly the moral police wakes up and they just found religion? Give me a break. What's even funnier is the level of hypocrisy here. People will scroll past actual predators like Spusiso Lawrence, corruption like Kenny Kunene, societal collapse, but when someone like Musa calls someone out, it's like the gates of hell opened and someone used the fork of Satan to poke your ass with it. Oh no, Musa hurt someone's feelings? Quick, call the police, call the FBI, everyone, call Maperete, call the Red Ants, call everyone. Cancel his career and maybe exile him while you're at it. Meanwhile, literal criminals are sipping cocktails in parliament. Priorities, people? And let's not pretend that this isn't partially about power dynamics. Because the people coming after Musa aren't upset because he said something untrue. They're upset because, let's face it, he said something that embarrassed them. Rich, powerful people hate being called out because they're used to everyone kissing their asses. But Musa doesn't play that game. He's like that one friend at a party who calls out the host for serving cheap wine. Is it awkward? Sure. But is he wrong? Well, if they can literally take a well-known pervert, give him a suit and call him Kenny Kunene, the mayor of Johannesburg, then probably not. Let me explain. We've become a nation of bullies, disguised as victims. You hear someone or something you don't like, and instead of confronting the content of the statement, you attack the messenger. It's like throwing your car keys at the mechanic because you're upset about how much petrol costs. It's pointless, it's childish, and honestly, it's all a little pathetic. Look at our country. Every day on Twitter, Facebook, and even WhatsApp, there are uncles and aunties out there spreading wild conspiracy theories. Remember about the vaccines and all those G5 towers? They were saying Cyril Ramaphosa is a puppet controlled by Bill Gates, and next they are sharing cures for COVID that involve boiling garlic with Vicks. But do we arrest them? No. Because we have this thing called freedom of speech. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Except apparently that freedom has a disclaimer. Terms and conditions apply. Void if used against anyone with money. Long story short, it's one of the biggest loads of horseradish I've ever seen. So while Musa cools his heels in a jail cell, let's take a moment to reflect on the bigger picture. Our streets are rife with corruption, drugs, crime, sex, politicians who promise the moon but can't even deliver consistent electricity. Yet here we are, channeling our collective outrage at a man whose primary weapon is his smartphone. It's akin to focusing on a pimple while ignoring a malignant tumor. But the biggest cherry on top isn't that. It's that this whole mess just proves Musa's point. The way people are reaching says more about them than it says about him. And if you're genuinely offended, fine, that's your right. But if your first instinct is to shut him down, sue him, or drag his name through the mud, maybe take a second to ask yourself why you're so bothered in the first place. Because from where I'm sitting in this comfortable couch of mine with this pillow, it looks like a bunch of overgrown egos that can't handle being called out. Let me tell you something you already know. Musa Khawula is not the first person to air an opinion, especially an opinion on a politician. Politicians do it every day. In fact, they do it worse. They get it on TV, tell us load shedding is under control, and then they expect us to believe it while we're sitting in the dark, Googling how to cook dinner with candle wax. Where's the accountability for that? Oh, because they have the money and Musa doesn't? But no, when Musa says something that challenges the status quo, suddenly everyone has a law degree and a moral compass. The hypocrisy is insane. You've got literal criminals rolling the halls of parliament, predators, thieves, crooks, and the justice system decides, no, forget about them. Let's focus on the guy spilling tea on TikTok. Let's talk about priorities right now. Because as we speak, there are people in positions of power stealing millions from this country. People who are supposed to protect and serve us are out here living like Bond villains, while the rest of us are just trying to survive the petrol price alone. And yet, Musa Khawula is the one being dragged to court. For what? For hurting someone's feelings. I didn't realize we lived in a society where emotional damage was a crime. And let's not even get into the fact that defamation cases are basically for the rich. Drake and Kendrick Lamar and UMG, you and I could get dragged on social media every day. And guess what? Nobody is coming to the rescue. Why? Because we can't afford to lawyer up and sue for defamation, because let's be real, the lawyers would laugh us out of their offices. But the second someone with a blue tick on Instagram feels slighted, it's a whole legal saga. Because here's the sad truth. We haven't gotten better as a society. If anything, South Africa's gotten worse. We are more divided, we are more sensitive, and now we are more willing to destroy someone over a comment rather than address the actual issues at hand. We've turned into bullies. Bullies with data bundles and Wi-Fi. Think about it. When someone says something controversial, what is your first reaction? Is it to engage in a thoughtful discussion? No, it's to cancel them, to roast them online, to make sure they lose their livelihood. We've replaced dialogue with destruction. And then we wonder why nothing changes and why there's more little girls getting pregnant. Musa Khawula isn't the problem. He is a symptom of a society that values outrage over understanding. You don't like what he said? Fine, that's on you. Challenge it, debate it, bring facts to the table. But don't act like arresting him is some noble act of justice when you've got real criminals walking free who sell your kids drugs. So let me put it this way. If Musa had been a politician, he would have gotten away with it. I guarantee you. Imagine if he stood in parliament and said, I believe so and so did this. Would you think anyone would have cared? No. Half the MPs wouldn't even pay attention because they're too busy napping or playing Candy Crush or touching little girls. But because Musa is just a guy with a platform and a big mouth, he is a target. The irony is South Africa is a country that thrives on gossip. We don't just like drama. We inhale it like oxygen. Look at the popularity of shows like Uzalo and Gomorrah. Look at the tabloids. Look at the conversations happening at every hair salon in Shisanyama. Musa didn't create the culture. He just capitalized on it. And now we're punishing him for playing the game we all participate in? Please. And don't even get me started on how this case will probably go down. The courts will waste months deliberating over whether Musa's statement hurt someone's reputation, while the real issues, poverty, crime, GPV, unemployment, I could name a lot more, get shoved to the back burner. It's like rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic while the ship is sinking. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about Musa Khawula. It's about what kind of society you want to be. Do you want to be a nation that silences opinions we don't like? Or do you want to be a nation that confronts uncomfortable truths like me? Do you want to be a country that focuses on real issues? Or do you want to keep getting distracted by petty dramas? Musa didn't kill anyone. He didn't steal from any poor person. He didn't harm anyone or touch any little child. All he did was say something. And whether you agree with him or not, you can't deny that the reaction to his words says a whole lot more about us than it says about him. So before you judge Musa, ask yourself this. Are you part of the solution? Or are you just another bully with a keyboard? Because until we learn to prioritize what really matters, we will be stuck in the cycle of outrage and mediocrity, wasting time on nonsense while the real villains laugh all the way to the bank. Because be honest, you and I both know that Musa Khawula is innocent and is just a guy with opinions. Yes, sometimes they're wild, sometimes they're messy, but at least he's saying something. He's not scared like the rest of us. And the rest of you, you're probably proving how fragile this whole house of cards really is. And honestly, that is the funniest part of it all. Besides, whoever thinks Musa says offensive things certainly hasn't watched me before.